You're listening to Lone Star Community Radio on 104.5 KCCW LP Conroe and 106.1 KZCC LP Conroe and worldwide at irlonestar.com.
Welcome to Veterans Air, the Veterans Hour, your source for news, talk, and uncensored commentary here on your Lone Star Community Radio. I'm your host, DouglasB. As always, a little housekeeping before we get started today. You can contact Veterans Air through our website at www.VeteransAir.us. Leave us a message, or even better yet, text us in the studio on our Google phone, 936-344-3083. So, Happy New Year's, everyone. I trust that you all made it through with some minimal damage, hopefully. I am still out of town, out of pocket, still caring for a family member. And thus the pre-recording of this show, instead of being in the studio, I am at a secured location in South Texas. It is frigid outside today, so everybody bundle up if you're going out. For Texans, this is cold. So, we made it through another year. It's now 2022, and who knows what adventures await us in the upcoming year. I can tell you that there will be a couple of things that we can expect. More booster shots for COVID, more lockdowns, more mask mandates. Yes, we'll have more of those in 2022. Remember, you heard it here first. Will the pandemic ever be over, you might be wondering. The answer to that question is no. There is too much money to be made out of this pandemic. Too much money to be made for the pharmaceutical industry. Too much money to be made for the medical industry, medical complex. Too much money to be made for the big box stores. The age of the mom and pop shop, they're over. The age of the local restaurant is over. Due to the pandemic, the American dream is becoming increasingly more difficult to hold on to. And I include myself in that. I mean, I am a small business owner. I'm just wondering, thinking out loud here, how many of you have picked up that the new strain, the Omicron, is actually an anagram for moronic? Yes. When they first started talking about this Omicron virus, derivative, variant, whatever you want to call it, I'm reading this and I'm thinking to myself, no, please tell me it's not that obvious. They named this variant moronic. Now, the official story is that, well, we're following the Greek alphabet and we're not going to use these two particular letters because it'd be too confusing to people. So we went to the Omicron. I don't think so. I think they want to see how many of us are moronic. As Americans, we are a docile society when it comes to our rights and our liberties. And I say that because not a bunch of us are standing up and protesting that our liberties, our God-given rights, our freedoms, they're all being stripped away from us in the name of the pandemic and health needs. What I can't understand, I understand why they're doing that, why they're taking our liberties, our God-given rights. What I can't understand is why so many are just complying with the government mandates. Just complying with the government mandates. A mandate isn't a law. A mandate is not constitutional. A mandate is somebody in the government has decided, you, Mr. and Mrs. America, will do this. Resistance is futile. Let's take, for example, these vaccine passports. Your right to free travel has been restricted. Your papers are not in order, Fräulein. Off to the FEMA re-education gap with you. Your right to free travel is restricted. Seriously, unless you have been vaccinated, tested, and quarantined, you ain't going nowhere. You're just not. Your freedom of travel has been stripped away from you. Now, I know there's a whole bunch of other things that have been taken, but let's stick with this for a moment. I'll give you some background on freedom of travel. Since some of you are sitting there going, Doug, I don't see that in the Constitution. You're right, you won't find it. A little background. As early as the Articles of Confederation, the Congress recognized freedom of movement, Article 4, and that right was thought to be so fundamental that during the framing and drafting of the Constitution, they didn't need to include it because it was so fundamental. So the Constitution, when you read it, will not have something explicit enumerated about your freedom of travel. We, the people, have let our fundamental rights to movement be taken from us. Okay, admittedly, I'm a little bit of a conspiracy theorist, and that goes part and parcel for being a constitutional conservative, if you will. Constitutional conservatives, better known as domestic terrorists. But it's been my experience that once power has been wrested from we the people, it is very rarely ever given back to us. I want you to think about that for a moment. Think about how this act of having to show your vaccine passport, quote unquote, restricts your travel. And it does. I'm not saying that it's quite necessarily a bad thing to restrict your travel, but I think that that's my choice to make whether I want to restrict my travel or not the government's mandate that we will comply. If you haven't guessed by watching this show, I have a big problem with compliance. I have a big problem with our government telling us, you will do this. Just wondering if any of you out there have picked up on what I'm picking up on. While I'm at it, I want to send a message out to Tucker Carlson, because I've been watching you, and lately it seems that when I talk about something here on Veterans Air, a week or so later, you have it on Tucker Carlson on your show. Stop stealing my shtick, Carlson. All right, we're gonna talk today about news concerning us veterans. But before we get to that, I want to say a little something about January 6th, 2021. Oh yeah, I'm going to talk about the insurrection, the riot at the Capitol last year. I've got a question that nobody seems to be asking, but for me, it's a fundamental question that everybody should be asking. Since Congress and a majority of Democratic representatives and senators are backing this insurrection theory, if it was an insurrection, it was the most poorly planned insurrection ever. They broke into the Capitol to take selfies with a podium and in Nancy Pelosi's office, to sit in the vice president's chair at the Congress. They broke in to take selfies. I say that this was not an insurrection. And the reason I say that is very, very simple. Have any of these people that they've jailed been charged with insurrection or sedition? Do you know how many they have been charged with that? 0. None. Trespassing, destruction of public property. The list of misdemeanors goes on and on. But they've been jailed for this, not for insurrection. So was it an insurrection? See my coffee cup? Isn't that a nice one? Because if it was an insurrection, the whole purpose of that is to topple a government, to remove that government and replace it with another one. This wasn't an insurrection. This was barely a riot. But we're wasting taxpayer dollars to investigate this insurrection. Next time this happens, somebody call me. I will teach y'all how to do an insurrection. Unbelievable. Okay, let's get to the news, because I have a bunch of news, a bunch of things that have happened in 2021 or are about to happen in 2022. And all of these things affect us and our families directly. First up in veteran news comes from an article and interview named "Those Military Burn Pit Veterans Have Help in Representing Their Claims" by Tom Tiemann. Now, in an interview with Tom Tiemann for Federal Drive, Bart Stickman says, quote, "Now that the Veterans Benefit Administration has started delivering disability payments to service members exposed to burn pits, everything is hunky-dory, right? Not according to Bart Stickman, whose organization is helping represent veterans with those claims. Bart is the co-founder and special counsel at the National Veterans Legal Services program, and you'll find the link below and this full article. What the VA has done for the first time is recognize that there are 3 different types of respiratory conditions that are connected to the toxic fumes from burn pits in Iraq, Afghanistan, and Southwest Asia. Those respiratory conditions are rhinitis, sinusitis, and asthma. So veterans who contracted those diseases within 10 years of leaving Southwest Asia can get benefits. But those are only a few of the diseases that science shows are connected to the toxic fumes. And so that's why there are bills currently pending in Congress and in both houses, Congress and the Senate, to add a lot more diseases to that list of presumed disease connected to the burn pits. Now, this man, Bart Stickman, he works for the National Veterans Legal Services Program. And what these guys do is they assist veterans in filing their claims. Now, there's a bunch of organizations and people out there that will do this for you. I am not endorsing the National Veterans Legal Services Program. I'm just telling you that it exists. But Bart Stickman goes on to say in this interview, we recently opened the Burn Pit Claims Assistance Program in our organization, the National Veterans Legal Services Program, to those exposed to burn pits. And those exposed to the burn pits can apply for free representation at www.nvlsp.org, links below. And veterans, we're accepting cases not just for veterans who have one of those 3 diseases we've talked about, but other diseases, because we can try to win with using a medical expert who will say that his or her expert opinion, they believe the veteran's kidney disease or whatever it is that you have is connected to the toxic fumes from the burn pits. Check out the link to this full article below. I want to explain to you what that paragraph meant. I'll use me as an example, if you will. As you all know, I have a spinal cord injury from military service. And that spinal cord injury requires me to take a number of different medications just so I can be vertical and talk to y'all. And I have to take these every single day, some of them multiple times a day. There's like 17, and I'm not exaggerating, 17 different prescriptions that I am on. And I've been on these prescriptions or variations of them for the past 20 years, 2 decades, 2.5 decades. Over the course of that time, I have developed other problems, such as cirrhosis of the liver. We'll use that one. Now, you're thinking to yourself, well, Doug, stop drinking so much. Doug doesn't drink. The cirrhosis of the liver is a side effect of 1, 2, or more of the medications that I am on, continued use of. My kidney's working 40%, 50% on a good day. Otherwise, it's not. As a matter of fact, my internal organs are going to kill me way before diabetes does. So I could file a claim today that says my cirrhosis of the liver is a secondary cause of taking these drugs. And in order to do that, the proof that I would need would be the warning labels, if you will, that for better word, the side effects from each one of those drugs, and an expert medical opinion that it's more likely that the cirrhosis of the liver was caused by these medications. And I take these medications due to the spinal cord injury that I received in the military. That's a secondary cause. And these secondary causes are very, very important to you. I'm not telling you this so that you can go and make more money in disability. I'm telling you this because a lot of veterans don't even think about that. They don't even think about what's wrong with them now may be a result of what happened to them when they were in service. And as the years progress, you'll require more and more assistance to go on living. And the amount of assistance that the VA is going to give you will depend upon what's your disability rating. Get a high enough disability rating and they're going to take care of everything. You get a low disability rating like mine, not so much. If nothing else, if you do nothing else from today's show, take a look at the links below and research it for yourself. And talk to your veteran service organizations or to a trusted veteran who knows about these things, about what you need to do to get started. Next up, The Department of Veterans Affairs is launching a new pilot program to research possible connections between veterans with certain rare cancers and exposure to toxins during military service. Research will occur over the next several months. Veterans with certain medical conditions could be eligible for fast-track health benefits if the VA finds a connection. The VA said the goal is to lower the amount of evidence veterans need to provide to access these benefits. The initiative will include efforts to train VA clinicians and benefits employees on toxic exposures. VA will also create a new call center and network of experts on environmental toxins to handle these questions. The VA will test the new presumptive model to assess potential associations between military environmental exposures and constrictive bronchiolitis, lung cancers, and rare respiratory cancers such as squamous cell carcinoma of the larynx or trachea and saliva gland type tumors of the trachea. The President of the United States has directed the VA to complete the review of rare cancers and provide recommendations about new presumptions of service-connected disabilities within 90 days. Based on the results of this review, the administration will consider initiating additional rulemaking once the process is complete. The administration will also continue to test this model on additional health conditions as exposures to ensure more timely review and consideration of potential service connection. Wow, that's a mouthful. Check the link below. There's a letter from the White House about this. So we're still talking about burn pits here, but we're talking about other things other than burn pits. Those of you who have been to Fort McClellan and have served there, a study came out early in the year about the water there was toxic and it had never been cleaned up. So you have some exposure. These are things that we don't normally think about. I want to tell you a story. I want to tell you a story about D.V. Hawk. You know Brother Johnny. I've had him on the show a couple of times. Brother Johnny got squamous cell carcinoma of the larynx, of the esophagus. And as the result of that, he has 30% of his jaw left, no teeth, half a tongue, half an esophagus. Squamous cell carcinomas. There are a lot of things, a lot of different melanomas and carcinomas out there just waiting to rear their ugly heads. And as a veteran, where you've served may be the determining factor of if you get one of these cancers. One of the best things that you can do for yourself is to check your body. See that mole right there? See that one? And where is it? Which side of the head? This side? No, it's this side of the head. See that one right there? Yeah. Now, I've had these all my life. They were birthmarks at one point. Now they're warts. They're raised. They have texture to them. So I like to get them checked once a year or every 2 years, or as often as the VA will give me an appointment to do dermatology to have them checked out. Because my family is the poster child for cancer. If anyone's going to get it, it's going to be somebody in my family. So better safe than sorry. I also instruct my primary care physicians, both at the VA and my civilian doctor, to run all sorts of cancer screenings throughout the year. I want you to test me from head to toe, with the exception of what do they call them? I can't think of what they call them right now, but they shove a camera up your butt and check, make sure you don't have polyps. Not going to do that again. You need to pay attention to your own bodies. Guys, girls out there, listen to me. You need to pay attention to your own body because cancer is insidious. Cancer is evil. Cancer is a cancer, and it's going to sneak up on you. But if you catch it early enough, it doesn't have to be a death sentence. If you catch it early enough, maybe it's operable. Maybe. Because I've known people in my own family that have kicked cancer's ass once, twice, 3 times. Doesn't have to be a death sentence. Just ensure that you get checked out. And pay attention to this new study that they're doing to see if there are presumptive conditions that come out of this specific study that they're doing. It may not affect you today, but it may affect you tomorrow, so pay attention to them. All right, what else we got here? I love this one. The VA is moving ahead with their electronic health record deployments. So last year in January, February timeframe, I went up to be with DV Hawk because he was having yet another surgery on his jaw, his tongue, his throat, and his leg now. While traveling there was difficult, and this is my own fault, I left my insulin in the hotel refrigerator in Pennsylvania while I was driving from Philadelphia to the Bronx. Now, got up to Syracuse, to Watertown, flew up there. The plan was going to hook up with Brother Johnny, and we were going to drive down to the Bronx. Got turned around because of snow, and I go back to Philadelphia. Rented a car, started driving, went as far as I could, and I stopped in Bell Salem, Pennsylvania. I put my insulin in the refrigerator and forgot it when Johnny woke me at dark 30 to get my ass back on the road. When we finally got to the Bronx and got checked in with the VA and the Fisher House, I realized that I had left my insulin in the hotel refrigerator. I'm a diabetic. Diabetics can't go very long without their insulin. I said, okay, let me see if I can't get the hotel to FedEx it to me. Long story short, that took like a week to get that done. So I'm there for the second day, and now I'm out of insulin. Go to the VA hospital, because I'm staying in the Fisher House. It's right across the street. They confirmed that I am who I say I am. They confirmed that I'm actually a patient enrolled in the VA health system. Unfortunately, they can't help me. They could not issue me any more insulin. Oh, they knew that I was taking insulin. Actually gave them the bottle and the box. It shows what the prescription was. Unfortunately, they can't get into my records because my hospital for the VA is Houston, not the Bronx. Think about that just for a second. Yes, you're a veteran. Yes, we understand that you're required to have this medication. No, we're not going to give it to you because your records are in Houston, not here in the Bronx. I was dumbfounded. I was absolutely dumbfounded. In order to get my insulin shot, I had to go to the ER every single day at 10 p.m. for them to give me my insulin shot because they couldn't issue me any. Why? Because my health records are there in Houston and they can't access them. My first thought was, well, okay, just tell Houston to assign me to the Bronx. I'm going to be here for a while. No, 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 no. No, you can't do that. That's idiotic. That's stupid. So, brings us to this news article. The VA is moving ahead with their electronic health record deployments. The Department of Veterans Affairs is moving ahead with the deployment of its electronic health record to a second site in 2022, after a strategic review effectively paused the massive multi-billion-dollar project earlier this year. The review, which the VA initiated back in March, uncovered widespread patient safety issues, technical problems, training shortfalls, and other budgetary and organizational challenges at the department's first go-live site. Now the VA is eyeing March 5th, 2022 as the electronic health record go-live date for its hospital in Columbus, Ohio, with a third go-live tentatively scheduled for the facility in Walla Walla, Washington, about 2 weeks later. The department will then move on to 5 facilities within the Veterans Integrated Service Network in the Pacific Northwest next summer. 3 more facilities, including the Battle Creek, Saginaw, and Ann Arbor hospitals in Michigan, have tentative deployment dates on the same date in early October. The VA's final deployment of 2022 may occur next November in Portland, Oregon, according to the department's schedule. I don't know what their problem is, because to do this is not that difficult. Perhaps the Department of Veterans Affairs wants to give me a call, and I'll hold their hand through this process. It is inconceivable to me that there are veterans out there that go to a VA hospital and say, I need some help, but they can't get the help because they're not assigned to that hospital. And the only way they can get that help is to go to the ER. Whiskey Tango Foxtrot. It is 2022. Are you seriously telling me that the VA hospital here can't talk to the VA hospital there, and therefore veterans that are between those two places are screwed? Because that's what you're telling me. And now you're having problems creating a system so that any VA hospital can see the records of an individual veteran. You really finding that difficult to do? Well, of course you are. This is the same government that did health.gov. And people wonder why I get upset. I get upset because I read the stuff. Check the links below. Read all that stuff, and then you'll know why I get upset. Oh my good God. The sheer idiocy. I'm using that word a lot in this program. The sheer idiocy of not being able to do electronic health records when the rest of the country has already done it. We did it years ago. I don't know who's in charge of the VA over there, but you know what? Do your damn job. Get this done. All right. So what else are we going to talk about today? We're going to talk about VA disability rates for 2022. Don't know who did this, but whoever you are, thank you. Here's the skinny. In 2022, VA payments will increase 5.9%, the biggest increase in over 40 years. Due to high inflation caused by the pandemic, the cost of living adjustment, we know it as COLA, increased 5.9%. COLA is determined each year by the Social Security Administration. So, you can figure on an increase of about $50 for those of you that are at the 50% disability rating. Now, you're going to ask, well, Doug, where can we find this information? The link's below. I've put a link to the tables, and you can look up yourself, see how much of an increase that you're going to get. That is a huge increase, 5.9%. Huge. Biggest increase in my lifetime. I don't know what I'm going to do with that extra dollars. Actually, for me, it worked out to be like $56 or $58. Like, wow, that's a huge amount of money each month. I'm going to use it well. I'm going to spend it at a mom and pop shop. Yes, I am. What else are we going to talk about? I got to talk about something that I didn't know exist. I pride myself on knowing things for information that I can pass on to my veterans, but I did not know about this program. Now, we all know that there is a homeless veteran problem here in America. And we know that space availability for the VA is limited on where we can house these individuals, these homeless veterans. I don't foresee that getting any better at any time soon, rather. But what I found interesting was this program, and I got to give a shout out to our intern, Nikita. Nikita found this information for me. I didn't know it existed. So bonus points to you, Nikita. We're not going to pay you anymore, but thank you very much. Let me just read this to you, and then we'll talk about it. The VA assesses resources to increase housing assistance for vulnerable veterans. The Department of Veterans Affairs updated its regulations November 10th, governing the Supportive Services for Veteran Families Grant Program. This will provide a more effective subsidy. I can't say it. This will provide more effective subsidies to veterans in high-cost rental markets and to increase the cap in general housing assistance available to the most vulnerable veteran families. Under the new regulations, for certain communities, the SSVF grant will cover up to 50%, an increase from 35% of eligible veterans' reasonable rent for 2 years without need for recertification. We know that veterans are increasingly vulnerable to homelessness and housing insecurities, said VA Secretary Dennis McDowell. Hope I'm pronouncing his name right. The updated regulations give supportive services for veteran families grantees more flexibility and tools to keep veterans housed while also helping them increase their income and access permanent, affordable housing solutions. The new rule also expands the maximum stay in emergency housing for unsheltered veterans. The original rule authorized placement for a veteran and his or her spouse with dependents in emergency housing for 45 days, which proved often not enough time to locate stable and affordable housing in highly competitive rental markets. So that portion has been increased from 45 days to 60 days. Let's talk about this program, the Supportive Services for Veterans Family. It is a grant program, which you don't have to pay it back. But there are some criteria for eligibility, so check the links below. So here we have a veteran that has a house, got a good career, he's working hard, living the American dream, and the pandemic happens. And all of a sudden, he's out of a job. And the unemployment has worn off. and he wants to go back to his job, but the job ain't there no more. So he's looking for a job. And while he's doing these things, he's getting further and further behind on his mortgage or his rent, his insurances for the property or renter's insurance, and he gets further and further and further behind. The SSVF grant program is made just for those types of situations. If you are unaware of this program like I was, please check the link below and do some research on this SSVF program, because you may not need it, but you may know somebody who does later on. Now, there are two sides to this house. The first side of that house is to give grants to keep the veteran in his home, or keep the veteran in his apartment if he's renting, whatever the case may be. The other side of that is for when the veteran has already become homeless. They can now put them up for 60 days. Put them up in a hotel. Nobody in a boarding situation, whatever the case may be. Different areas of the country have different programs for that. But the program does exist. And until now, I never knew what to do or how to help a veteran that was homeless. This is another tool in my tool belt to help individuals. I hope that if you're listening to my program, you do not need support for this program. I'm hoping that that situation never happens to you. But if it does, it's good to know that this is here. And remember what we say, it's better to have it and not need it than need it and not have it. Let's move on. Has anyone heard of the Caring for Survivors Act of 2021? Me neither. But this act would improve compensation and expand eligibility for survivors of disabled veterans. It's known as House Resolution 3402/S/976, the Caring for Survivors Act of 2021. This act would increase dependency and indemnity compensation, the DIC, a tax-free benefit paid to eligible survivors of veterans, by $300 per recipient. The bill would also expand eligibility to more survivors by reducing the period a veteran must be totally disabled to qualify for the benefit. When a service-disabled veteran passes away, not only does the surviving spouse have to deal with the heartache of losing their loved one, but they also have to contend with the loss of the veteran's compensation that they were getting from the VA. The DAV Assistant National Legislative Director Jeremy Villanova told a congressional panel considering the legislation this last October about this. The proposed bill would introduce in the House of Representatives and Senate would make necessary updates to properly ensure families of disabled veterans are cared for long after their loved one dies. Not every survivor gets a DIC payment. There are criterias for when you become eligible for that, or if you're eligible at all. You need to, veterans, you need to research this for your survivors. When you die, hopefully you've done your research, and in your official paperwork, there'll be something in there about Dick. Just disability indemnification payments in there, so they can go, oh, okay, I need to file this with the VA, and they're going to give me some money. Veteran, You have to do this. Not your wife, not your kids. You have to do this. After you're gone, can't be done. It's got to be done while you're still alive. So, hey, look into the program, make it happen. How long have I been talking? Does anybody know? Oh, I got to go quick because I only got 45 minutes. Thanks, Dick. All right, so what's happening in Conroe? Well, the Republican candidate forum is January 10th at the Creighton Theater at 6 p.m. So if you're a Republican, you want to meet your candidates, go ahead and go there. I also want to remind everyone about the VFW Post 4709 Constituents and Candidates Mix and Mingle. That will be held Wednesday, February 9th at 5 p.m. through 8 p.m. at the VFW Post on Siemens Avenue. We've done the past couple of years, great turnout. Come on out. This is open to all the candidates and all constituents. You don't need to be a member of the VFW to go. Come on now. We've got some coffee and some drinks. We usually do. And you know what? That makes me think. There are a lot of candidates for local, state, and federal representation this year, because we do have an election coming up this year. You should research each candidate and decide for yourself who gets your vote. Don't let the media tell you who to vote for. Do your own research. There's a lot of good candidates out there. It's going to be a hard picking a new congressman to replace Kevin Brady, because there's a lot of good candidates. I mean, really good candidates out there. So this goes out to all of the candidates from all parties. If you want to be on this show or one of our podcasts, which is better because we don't have a time constraint on those, please call 936-344-3083 to get scheduled for this live broadcast or a podcast. Now, I'm going to tell you right now, candidates, this isn't a place to bring your political advertisements on the air to constituents. No. What we want to know from you, if you want to be on the show, is what will you do for veterans? What will you do for the family for veterans? This is the Veterans News Program. So those are the questions we want to know. And those are the questions that I'm probably going to ask you. So come prepared. I guess that ends it. I have nothing more to talk about. It's been a quiet month of December, and it hopefully will be a quiet January. When I'll be back in town, I have no idea. If you are one of my veterans and you are in need of assistance, call me. I have a phone. Reach out to me. Thank you for not reaching out to me during my family emergency, but I know there's still guys and gals out there that need my help and guidance. Please reach out to me. I'm available to you. Well, as we end this, I want to end it with the song from the Warrior Song Project. You can go download it from Veterans Air, iTunes, wherever you get your fine music from. And while we're listening, let us remember our brothers and sisters in uniform that today are standing in harm's way, protecting our rights, our liberties, and our freedoms. If you are wearing the uniform, I want to say to you, thank you. I want to say to you, I'm proud of you. And until next month, stay safe, stay vigilant.
Machine with a need to bleed you when the light goes green. Best believe I'm in the zone to be. From a yin to my yang to Z. Put a grin on my chin when you come to me. Cause I'll win, I'm a one of a kind, and I'll bring death to the place you're about to be. Another river of blood running under my feet. Forged in a fire lit long ago. Stand next to me, you'll never stand alone. I'm last to leave, but the first to go. Lord, make me dead before you make me old. I feed on the fear of the devil inside of the enemy faces in my sight. Aim with a hand, shoot with a mind, kill with a heart like Arctic ice.
I am a soldier and I'm marching on.
I am a soldier and I'm marching on.
I am a warrior, this is my song.
I am a warrior and this is my song. I bask in the glow of the rising war. Lay waste to the ground of an enemy shore. Wade through the blood spilled on the floor. And if another one stands, I'll kill some more. Bullet in the breach and a fire in me. Like a cigarette thrown to gasoline. If death don't bring you fear, I swear you'll fear these marching feet. Come to the nightmare, come to me. Deep down in the dark where the devil be. In the mall where the jaws and the razor teeth. Where the brimstone burns and the angel weeps. Crawl to the gods of across your path. And my silhouette hangs like a body bag. Hope is a moment now long past. The shadow of death is the one I cast. I am a soldier and I'm marching on. I am a warrior and this is my song. My eyes are steel and my gaze is long. I am a warrior and this is my song.
We're not just going to shoot the bastard. We're going to cut out their living guts and use them to grease the treads of our tanks. We're going to murder them.